Okay, so this is Concentration and Intervention by Rajan Waterman. I'm here with Tom Lewis. Nice to meet you, Tom.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Okay, so your coach has mentioned some issues that you've been having with attentional focus. If I can get the right slide up, would help. Okay, so I've got a profile here of you that we've spoken previously about. So the coach has mentioned attentional focus issues and concentration issues.
Yeah.
So in this presentation, I'm basically going to look, or intervention, I'm going to look to give you some kind of ideas and techniques you can use to negate these issues. So you're a table tennis player, that's correct, right?
Yeah, I play table tennis.
Okay, and you play to high standards, so
yeah, pretty good standard.
Very good. So the reasons that you've given me for your attentional focus issues is not being able to focus on relevant performance cues the opponent is giving. Do you think that might be due to lack of experience possibly playing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've only been playing for about 3 years, so I think I sometimes just don't understand what the opponent's trying to do.
Okay.
And I need to sort of look at cues and just see what I can do to win.
Okay, so we can look at ways you can work on that. Also mentioned that you're easily influenced by outside distractions, lack of goals, you can be over analytical of yourself at times, also over arousal sometimes can lead to only focusing on one thing, so the narrowing of your thought processes. And anxiety can cause you sometimes to broaden your attentional focus too much, so too much concentrating on the environment and what's going on with your focus. You also mentioned internal distractors, so like past events and future events and negative thoughts. Is that something that you've suffered from?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you lose to someone and you got to play them again in the future, you might think about that last match you played, and it might affect you in the present.
Okay, so we can look at some strategies that can help you with that also. I should mention to you that I'm not a BPS accredited sports psychologist, so I can't actually carry out these exercises or techniques with you. I can just inform you in what you can do to negate these issues that you're having with concentration and attentional focus. So your reasons for concentration issues were competition anxiety, physical fatigue, external distractors, so the crowd and stuff like that, the opponent, auditory and visual kind of distractions that could be, internal distractions, which you mentioned with attentional focus, lack of motivation to achieve goals, and lack of SMART goals. So we have on the right, we have something, it's a theory that was set out with regards to attentional focus. So there's kind of 4 sections to it. External distractors, broad distractions, narrow distractions, internal distractions. So they're the different types that can happen with regards to attentional focus. Broad is when we're concentrating too much on the kind of environment, the opponent, these kind of things. External is outside environment. Narrow is being focused on one thing when there's other cues that we could be looking for. And internal is kind of our own thoughts, maybe negative thoughts, and these kind of issues that occur. Okay, so first of all, if I give you a definition of concentration, so this is according to Jerry in 2002. It's a state of focused awareness on a subset of the available perceptual information. So improving attentional focus is known to improve concentration levels of the performer. So the types that we have, which we've just mentioned, narrow internal attentional focus is predominantly used for mental rehearsal or to control a mental state. For example, to increase concentration levels prior to performance. Narrow external attentional focus is used to focus on 1 or 2 external cues, i.e. I know you're working on your forehand technique, so the forearm position is something you've been working on.
Yeah.
So maybe when someone's serving, you might focus on the forearm just before contact with the ball, or the racket angle of the server. So that's when you're narrowing in on exact cues that you're looking at with your opponent. Broad internal attentional focus is used to analyse and plan internally, and broad external is used to quickly assess an overall situation. So now we'll delve into the theories that you can use to enhance attentional focus. So firstly, you can control internal distractors. So internal distractors are negative thoughts, self-doubt, i.e. that's low self-esteem, low self-efficacy, or dwelling on the past or future thoughts. Control of these can be achieved through use of refocusing thought processes to the task at hand. If negative thoughts are affecting attentional focus, then changing to positive thoughts may help to negate this problem. So another technique is dealing with past and future events. So this aspect affecting your attentional focus can really detrimentally affect your performance and your concentration levels. Increasing attention to relevant stimuli, so selective awareness can help you to negate this problem. Bringing the mind back to the present, focusing on the task at hand. Decreasing your attention to relevant stimuli will in turn increase attention to your relevant stimuli that you're looking for. To understand what exactly you should be focusing on is important. So which biomechanical movements or cues you should look out for when in certain table tennis scenarios. This will bring you back to the present moment and negate the thoughts of future or past events. The attentional cues technique was originally developed by a gentleman called Nidefer in 1981 and elaborated on by Schmidt. So there's more information out there in journals and on the internet in books that you can find if you look up those two people. Hopefully that'll be useful to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so also focusing on execution of the skill will negate thoughts of future or past events. Ruminating on past prior poor execution of skills can have negative effects on concentration and performance levels will decrease. The TikTok method to negate this is of dwelling on prior performance can be used to refocus the attention. So the TikTok theory says that you should immediately after failure, one should mentally rehearse the correct execution of the skill to focus attention and make this the predominant motor pattern. I've seen you do that quite a lot of times actually in training, to be fair, so kind of re-practicing the skill after.
Yeah.
So if you can use that to help your attentional focus, that is actually a very positive thing that you can do.
Okay.
So choking paralysis and paralysis by analysis. So low self-efficacy can cause choking, which in turn can cause levels of attentional focus to decrease. So building self-confidence will therefore allow for the attentional focus to be higher and to negate the effects of choking on performances. A build-up of self-efficacy can result from remembering good past performances. So I know you've won many titles and that's something you can look back on to improve your attentional focus. Mental rehearsal, positive feedback from coaches and peers, positive self-talk and relaxation techniques can also be used. Choking can be caused by high expectations, external pressures such as media or people associated with the athlete, so maybe family or friends or peers, table tennis peers, and monetary influences if there's prize money on offer. All these mentioned precursors to possible choking can be negated by increasing attentional focus through refocusing the mind on the task at hand. So essentially, instead of thinking about all these factors that are putting you under pressure, you can just try and refocus your mind to concentrate on the cues you're looking for when you're trying to execute your skill, or on the actual skill itself, focusing on that, or what you're trying to achieve tactically. So really to kind of
block out other things,
think about what you need to do. Exactly. So paralysis by analysis can occur when a performer is over analytical of their performance and therefore they concentrate too much on analysing each aspect and break down movements, leaving them unable to perform the motor skills in an autonomous state as they normally would have. So an autonomous state is where something's automatic. So that can happen when paralysis by analysis occurs. So reverting back to the associative phase of skill execution, which can lead to poor performance. One can begin to dwell on weaknesses in a technique. Certain aspects of the technique or tactics and attentional focus concentration is lost, thus performance is to suffer markedly. Attention to performance worries can cause choking. This is a self-focus theory. Attention on performance worries can cause choking. This is a distraction theory. Refocusing the pressure into concentrating on the task at hand can be beneficial as long as this is trained prior to the event. So simulating the pressure situations is key in retaining attentional focus during competitions. So it's kind of like if you're training your mind, you should do it prior to the event, and build up as you would physiologically if you're training yourself. If you practice it in the training hall, then you can take it into competitions. It's a similar situation. Now we're going to look at selective attention. You may have heard of it before. It's something that's quite popular in the media at the moment and things like that. So using selective attention technique can increase attentional focus on relevant cues. This will enhance concentration, which in turn will increase performance levels. So for example, in table tennis, when receiving serve, you may focus on the ball only, but the relevant and important cues would be to watch the racket angle and contact point and the arm movement, or the racket head movement just prior to the contact. So focusing on the wrong cues or irrelevant cues can be highly detrimental to your concentration levels and attentional focus. The athlete can only focus on a limited number of stimuli in one specific time frame. Top athletes seem to be able to filter information, carry information and cues better than actually the average person. That's said to be true about top athletes. So good selective attention can be made through guidance from coaches or peers, but most importantly through hours of practicing the skills, purposeful practice. So now we'll move on to concentration improvement strategies. So concentration definition firstly. So concentration is the ability to maintain focus on relevant environmental cues. So firstly, to improve concentration, you can use cue words. So cue words can be highly beneficial to enhancing concentration levels in athletes. Cue words can be used repetitively to remind you to focus on certain aspects you wish to focus your attention on. Higher concentration on these aspects should enhance performance levels. For example, I know you've had some technical issues with your elbow position on forehand. So repeating elbow would possibly concentrate your focus on executing that skill on your forehand correctly, or that biomechanical movement. So that could be important for you. Just repeating, the thing is, if you generalise the words, so repeating words such as focus or concentrate, it can enhance general concentration levels. However, if you do not know how to focus, then their use will be negligible. So you understand what I mean by that?
So you've got to be a bit more specific.
If you can be specific with your keywords, that helps. But also, if you don't understand how to concentrate, you haven't trained your mind to be able to concentrate, just saying focus or concentrate will not. If you don't have the skills, it would be pointless. Exactly. So self-talk can also be used in the same mould as cue words. A lot of times cue words, people use them in a self-talk way rather than just in mind. So they kind of make it audible, their cue words. So also, to improve concentration, you can use pre-performance routines. So developing pre-performance routines can help to negate the effects of environmental distractions. This will enhance your focus on the upcoming competition or skill execution you wish to carry out. Deep breaths can be taken, or a stretching routine to get you into the correct concentrated frame of mind to compete. Is there something that you do pre-competition? Have you ever used that kind of any of that technique, or do you have a certain routine you can use? Yeah,
before tournaments I try and go for a little jog, and then I just do a stretching routine that I try and do all the time. Okay. So it's familiar to me.
Okay. That's good. So you're familiar with that technique then, really? With pre-competition routines. That's good. It can also be used to negate the effects of internal distractors. So that means thoughts of future results and etc. or performance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that. So the next strategy we can look at is associative and dissociative techniques. So associative is when the athlete is focused on the task at hand. Dissociative is when the focus is not on the task at hand. This can be a means of distraction essentially. The associative technique can be useful to regain focus and completely immerse oneself in concentrating on the task at hand. The dissociative technique can be useful when over-concentration or too much thinking about what is going to take place leads to higher anxiety levels. Or actually, so being dissociated can distract you from the pressure and lead to better performance levels. Actually, Federer is known to use that technique in his competitions. Actually, he's mentioned that in quite a few articles that are out there. Dissociative techniques are more likely to occur in long competitions as it's difficult to maintain focus for vast amounts of time. So I know you play tournaments, so tournaments are obviously sometimes a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah.
So at times it's key to kind of switch off, so that's dissociate, and get yourself out of the situation so you can then become more relaxed and then you're ready to use your full concentration powers when you compete. That's essentially what that's saying.
Okay, yeah. But you need to try and associate things as well when you need to.
When you need to, you can go into the associative state, exactly. So it's often you see in the gym, for an example, that runners use the dissociative style, so they play music to take their mind off the pain, but this is not conducive, it is thought, to high level performance in marathon running. Many elite long distance runners use the associative method, so they focus on bodily sensations such as breathing or how their legs feel. This allows them to fully focus on the performance. So like you're saying, switching from dissociative to associative can be beneficial. Essentially it's individualised, it's what works for you. So you can look at both and do some extra research and, hopefully the basic information is there for you and you can look into it in more depth, and trial and error normally is what would be key in trying to figure out which works best for you. The next strategy of concentration levels would be shifting attention. So you need to be able to shift attention quickly, especially in a sport like table tennis, such a fast sport, I would say. This can coincide with attentional focus parameters. So firstly, you can broaden your attention to thoughts of tactics and ball placement. Secondly, you can shift your attention to external factors such as ball trajectory, velocity, spin, and an opponent's body position. And thirdly, attention can shift to the ball and focus on execution of the skill you need to carry out. I think that's an important skill that a lot of top players have. They can go from one stage to the next, one attention kind of parameter to the next.
Yeah.
So this constant shifting of attention is key in many sports, most definitely in table tennis. I mean, I guess you can understand.
You have to have that awareness, don't you?
Yep.
To see what's going on around you.
Yep, and what your opponent's doing and these types of things. So to practice this, a form of training called multi-ball in table tennis practice, which I know you're very adept at, would be beneficial to you developing your ability to rapidly shift attention. At this point, we should remember that attention is the ability to focus on one specific cue, and concentration is the ability to sustain the focus over periods of time. Have multiple stimuli. One kind of advice to you would be to have multiple stimuli in the training hall and shift your attention between each, so as to learn the concept of shifting attention. So that's something you could do to help you. Okay, so the next concentration strategy is parking thoughts. So when negative thoughts or unrelated thoughts during competition can decrease concentration levels by being distractors. That's what. This will detrimentally affect performance in most cases. To negate this loss of concentration, we can park our thoughts. So this means essentially compartmentalising those thoughts and forgetting about them until after the performance. One way to help achieve this is by writing down the distracting thoughts and tell yourself that they are going to stay out of your mind whilst you perform. Another word for it is dumping thoughts. These thoughts so one way of doing this is to use rational self-talk instructions or to use mental imagery to place the thoughts in a non-distracting place before you perform.
Yeah.
So using mental imagery can be helpful in parking your thoughts basically, or you can notation. It's what works for you. Have you ever come across that technique or used that technique at all?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm worried about something and in table tennis, I might write it down in a book, or I might note it down and try not to think about it too much. And it's a good way of displacing your negative thoughts.
Yep, that's brilliant. Okay. So that'd be useful for you. The next strategy is maintaining focus. So maintaining focus for a long period of time, we both know can be difficult in sports, as it's highly stressful at times. One way to make sure you're at peak concentration levels during competition is to dissociate in the times between matches, and then so that you don't become fatigued basically by concentrating for too long period.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, switching from dissociative to dissociative when you need to be. So letting your mind wander while you're away from the table, and then when you come back to the table you're on it and ready to focus. So there's one way that a lot of players use, I think I've seen you use, is to listen to music in between matches.
Yeah.
To kind of take yourself away from the situation.
Yeah, I certainly do that.
So that alleviates worries about performance and may allow your concentration to drift. So it's just personalised to yourself really. You can personalise what works for you. Another strategy we can use concentration is relevant cues. So you can train your mind to filter out irrelevant information. Understanding what relevant cues you should be looking for is key to this concept, helping improve your concentration levels. Coaches can guide you about which relevant cues to look for. Playing experience, as we mentioned before, kind of purposeful practice will help in developing and understanding relevant cues. As you said, you're quite inexperienced, I guess, in table tennis terms, so sometimes the relevant cues are difficult for you to pick up.
Yeah.
But it can be an important factor in improving your concentration levels if you can understand what cues you need to focus on at certain times during a match.
Yeah.
If you try and focus on too many cues at one time, the mind sometimes is not able to process the information, and this can lead to losing concentration levels.
Okay.
So you need to be specific with the cues that you want to look for. There was a scientist called Treisman. He created a model that says that the brain takes in all information, or in other words, tolerates it all, and saves large chunks of information for analysis. All the information is said to be analysed, however not all of it is attended to unless it is deemed important or critical information. So essentially this means that we filter information to find relevant cues for what we're trying to achieve or execute.
Okay.
So the skill to selectively choose relevant cues to react to is very, very important in improving concentration. The next strategy is distraction training. So this is kind of used to minimise distractions. This will help you maintain focus. So techniques you can use are keywords, self-talk, notation, imagery, or even meditation techniques to teach the mind to focus and not become distracted during competition scenarios. One particular damaging distraction is self-evaluation at the wrong time, so being over-analytical. It can lead to tension in the body and lower concentration levels. Some theorists say that trying to concentrate too hard can also be detrimental to performance. One of these experts was named Galway. He wrote a book in 1975 called The Inner Game. That might be a useful book for you to read with regards to this technique. So if you want to gain any more ideas, feel free to research that book.
Okay.
And that is it, Tom. Is there anything you want to talk about or you'd like to add? Anything?
I don't think so. I think it's all been covered there, I think.
It's all been covered?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I hope some of these techniques are useful to you with your sporting career.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for coming, Tom.
Thank you.